We're back with session 3. You are already in the city. You start heading to the Vandalian Quarter to suss out the culprits. Stolen these blessed glass instruments for research sciences and medicinal practices. Blessed glass is a form of metallurgy made by the ice dragonborn of Crocum in Newton, which is a small island that is just off the mainland. Over here is the town of Newton. So these tools that have been stolen, even if melted down, is considered very valuable. Is there anything we'd like to prepare with for political context? You are in the company of Vandalian Lancers. This quarter is basically Vandalian former POWs, people that had migrated here as refugees at certain points during the war between the Majocracy and the Vandalian Empire. And so some of the people on the Empire side that were the aggressors kind of got stuck in the city and ended up having their own area of the city where they now live. They came from being either former prisoners, and then the war ended and everyone got released. They're kind of stuck in their circumstances in a city of what they used to consider the enemy and now consider a home of sorts. You were probably going to meet one of the Arcblade officers, the authoritative force of the Iskalian Majocracy. Because you seem to be walking downhill a little bit. The cobblestones seem to waver now. They're not as flat and nicely masoned as the rest. It is cold outside. It is autumn-like weather you should be having in months like these. It's Crocum, so it is already very wintry. And the steam rolls up out of the small vents that go into the sewers. You're going to reach the threshold here. The houses that line the outside of this quarter seem to be painted on the masonry with a giant purple stripe that goes horizontally across them and between buildings, and it seems to almost wrap around them to kind of indicate this. Looking past the two houses that are on either side of the road, the masonry kind of mixes into some mud and ice. It seems like some people have probably even stolen some of the masonry out of the road to fix their houses at some points, or even build small hovels, which you see sometimes attached to other houses. You notice there are some wooden stone posts that seem like they're small standing shelters, but with a little bit of a desk in front. These officious places that you'd see guards go into. There's a kid with the wrapped up feet crossed on top of the ledge of the desk, picking his nails and flicking it and not even looking up. He's just sitting in the chair in that post. It's like a toppled inkwell and quill that's kind of already spilled over the top of the table. And he's using the quill to pick his nails clean. He finally feels the shadow loom over him, and he looks up and he goes, "So what are you wanting then? Do you have an appointment? You definitely don't look like you're from around here. Those two do, though. I haven't seen that armor in a long time. Where have you guys been?" Two Vandalians look at each other, Savine and Undus. We're here at the behest of and the other one, like, nudges them, like, "You idiot, don't say that. We're here on business." Business. Not a lot of business happens around here. But, and then you hear, "Hey, there's no one in there. Who are you talking to?" The kid like looks over and kicks his feet off of the ledge right away. He runs into the curtain just behind him where the exit is of this little post. He scoots away with little splashes as his foot wrappings like crash into the icy puddles. A Scallion Arcblade comes out from a nearby area. It looks like it might be an office of some sort that has like shields and some spears leaning against it. He walks up to the post in his long kind of blue cape and his pointed white helmet. "Was he bothering you?" "He's gonna get it later. He's always around. He sees this stream of black ink that has just been spilled and left a trail. It's like, "That kid. What can I do for you?" No respect for the elders and authority. Don't go too hard on him. "Hey, he's alright. Got him stealing a couple of times, but as long as he doesn't steal in the other areas, there's not much I can do about it. No one tells on each other here." They see our armor, they even know what our faces are, so even if we went into plain clothes, they wouldn't talk to us. If you could walk around a bit, get a lay of the land, maybe find some intel for us, could give us a good idea of where to look next. We'd rather sort these things diplomatically. Just find who's guilty, get what we need, get it back to their rightful owners. That's all we want. I think potentially trying to enlist the help of local underworld elements may be the best strategy, as it's in the best interest that things stay calm in the district. Any ideas on people or places we should look into? There is one place, it's called the Whistling Stone. A lot of tough customers loitering around there though, so I'd stay frosty. After that, there's quite the bustling community of kids that are left without supervision. They run about the streets playing and, well, pickpocketing those who got a little lost. Not everyone here is still very happy about the Vandalian Empire. Why not? We're here to help them get out of trouble. The world ain't that black and white, friend. See, they've been waiting and waiting and waiting for diplomats to come by and get them out of here. For relief out of a city that is not their own, out of a culture that is not their own. They don't want to be here. Most of them don't anyway. They expected the Empire to come for them. A lot of these guys are veterans of the wars. They hate it here, but they also hate the Empire for abandoning them. And a lot of them were former prisoners of war. They were released as soon as the war ended. But released to where? No one took them back. Besides that, I think you guys can maybe handle yourselves with enough street smarts. Just keep your eyes peeled. Once you have some evidence, and maybe a location of where we can push our resources, I think we could probably take it from there. Good to chat with the children, then the tough customers in the bar, get a feel for the area. Let's move with that. So you're walking the streets of the Vandalian quarter of the city of Ascali. I need you to roll a d6 to see what you see while you're walking through the streets, keeping an eye out for these kids. Ooh, 5. Wow. Okay. So you're looking for these kids. They're a little bit far ahead, so you're not able to catch up with them just yet. You know, you see the kids in the distance, but then you hear a little bit of an echo as if it's coming from an alleyway close by. There are 2 Urkblade patrol officers. One is bleeding from a cut on their head, and the other is pursuing someone running down the alley. It looks like this has just happened. What would you like to do? Would you like to leave this alone? Or do you want to talk to this guard who's got the bleeding head? So you walk on over. They are not used to people wanting to be helpful at all in this area. So when you approach them and you're not wearing their armor or weapons or whatnot, but there's soldiers with you. You have these 2 Vandalian soldiers with you. The Urkblade shrinks against the wall again. Someone attacked us that we were trying to pursue. I think we just asked the wrong questions and they got nervous. They threw a rock at me. Luckily the helmet got most of it, but these head wounds bleed a lot. I think I'll be fine. Think you could get around to where they're headed? Do you want to continue talking to this guy, or do you want to pursue, try to cut off who they're chasing? Or you can kind of see yourself out of the situation as well. Who better to help than these guys? Let's go find the partner and see if they're alive too. Okay, so you quickly turn heel and run around the building that you saw the soldier turn down the alley at. So you take the front route around to try and cut off the person that's being chased. When you run around the corner, I need you to roll a dexterity saving throw. Who's leading this? Who's the one running in front down these alleyways? Because this dex saving throw is going to determine whether you catch the person or they blast by you. Yeah, in the front. Yeah, because of the high dex. A 9 plus 6, so you got a 15. That's why being one of these characters is actually, like these high dex characters, is good. You come around this corner and you feel this blasting of a momentum hit your shoulder, but you are quick enough to bury your heel into the ground and as a brace and bring your arm down and grapple. The immediate waft of body odor, and something much worse hits you as this person's body is up against Steph Winterlight's. They begin flailing, kicking him. Let me go! Let me go! And the arc blade catches up quickly, at their heels, being, yes, thank goodness. Get over here, you brigand. He, steps forward and, puts a heavy, these beautiful silver, they're very fine. They're not gauntlets like giant World of Warcraft gauntlets. These, beautiful silver-looking things, very magey. Just clap down on the shoulder of this person. I appreciate your speed. We've been trying to pursue these brigands for quite some time. The person you've cut off from their escape, somewhat peasant clothes, but they have a leather vest with a belt around. Nice-ish clothes that have really seen a lot of wear and tear. Actually, the Vandalian soldiers, they catch up. This person finally gets a glance at them and their eyes widen. They're like, you finally here to get us out of here. You're gonna let this Ascalion touch us? These Vandalian soldiers feel very awkward. They kind of wish they weren't wearing their armor everywhere now. If they've been on the run, if they're that stinky, why have they been running? What happened? This one and his crony were asking me questions about the burglary. They've been patrolling around for days trying to figure out what's been going on. We don't know anything. We don't owe them any answers either. You know full well the entire neighborhood had their windows open, peeping out when those thieves came rushing in on that cart full of blessed glass steel tools. Those belong to the Mages Academy and to the infirmaries of the city, and aid in the research of countless technologies that we, the Ascalion Magocracy, gloriously produces for the rest of Crocum. We even trade with the Vandalians, despite having been at war with them. So I don't understand why none of you won't peep even a bit, even though I know there was eyes that day that saw what happened. I don't know anything. There's been vagabonds that have been attacking guards around the city, and not just in the Vandalian Quarter. And yet, every single one of them has been Vandalian so far. Every single one of these attackers. The one that's being chased said that they were being asked too many questions and was afraid that he was going to be taken away or something. And so he decided to run off. The guard is convinced that this is one of the other aggressors that has been part of the attacks around the city against more of the city guard. And is sort of telling a different story, that they were asking questions and then they got a rock thrown at them. So you mention as much, and the Vandalian soldiers that are accompanying you step up and go, it seems like these people's circumstances don't seem to inspire a lot of confidence with the freedom that they hold. To be in a alleyway asking them questions about something they may not know anything about, when they already know that aggressions have been put on you by their own people, or at least that's what they said. I think anyone would be apprehensive. Now being talked to soldier, even if they are from opposing sides, the Ascalion kind of shifts their eyes. One thing is suspicious about him, though. He turns him around to face him, then leans in a little bit. I don't know if you've never been in a city before, but he smells exactly like the sewers. Now, I don't know about you, but not many just go willingly into the sewers. The Vandalian Quarter is much more sanitary to live in than the waste tunnels. The only people that go down there to hide something. But this city has been here for a very long time, and don't think we haven't tried looking there. There is plenty to be searching. Insight here on what everyone is saying. Let's try that. Ooh, look at that! A dirty 20! The Cret Geigen, Sir Reginald Thornberry, looms over and watches this person carefully. And he looks up at this armed-to-the-teeth moose person. And as he's explaining things, his eyes keep darting up and looking around and explaining like an imbalance of things here. The Vandalian soldier is kind of trying to help validate the situation, trying to convince the Scallion of that like he might want to reconsider how he's making his approach on interrogating people and making assumptions on people. When he gets smelled and then he's talking, then the Escallion is talking about the sewers, you see something very similar to panic cross the face of the person. It's a split second of an expression. Eye contact vanishes between what seemed to be a culprit and the Escallion Arcblade, and he looks away at one of the other persons, or he looks kind of a little bit more pleading at the Vandalion. He's hiding something probably very important there. He feels like he's got somehow, even if it is like a very vague clue. You have a feeling this Escallion guard, his approach might be not idyllic for the situation, absolutely, but he's just not enforced in his verdict. It seems like he might be on the right trail. Can we press him about if he's part of the thefts? Sure. Is there a certain way you want to ask him that? Can we tell the girl that this guy matches a description of someone we've heard of? Give us a moment with them. Absolutely. There's going to be a persuasion check, because he still is the authority here, and he wants to do things on his own, but he's also know these guys have helped. You've also helped them. So we're going to let advantage take over. Just a regular advantage, because it's not that both of you are helping each other, but it's more that the Vandalion Lancers are helping you. Paladin's got he's got good persuasion. So we're going to do it that way. Ooh, an 18, a 21. Let's see if you get it better than that. Do another one, because it's advantage. Try again. Holy moly. You actually got higher. 23! Well, you rolled a 21 and a 23. Holy cannoli. When you mention the investigation, they kind of think, oh, I was not expecting the kind of party I see before me here, but I'm certainly thankful you're here for this. If this is part of the main investigation, then absolutely. I won't be far. I'll just be right back at the, where I left my partner, and I will be tending to him. If anything is further suspicious about him, that he should be held for detention or something, and bring him over to us. If not, then let him go. And he stands a little bit, nods at the Vandalion soldiers, and he turns and leaves. So now you are left with this very smelly gentleman. He's in his 20s. He's like in his mid-20s. You have as much time as you need with this guy. Listen, I don't want to be part of any more trouble. I just want out of here. This place has become way more difficult to live in ever since everything happened with that burglary. It's only been a few days, and it's been harder just to do a simple fencing of goods, just among the pickpockets. Now, with this thievery happening, it's difficult to do anything. Listen, I'll cooperate. Just let me go afterwards. Don't bring me back to them. What do you want to know? Ask Stinky Guy if they're involved with any stealing and how we can get them out of trouble with the guards. The guards don't usually have trouble with the Vandalions here in our own quarter doing, petty pickpocketing and things like that. They know full well we need what we need to get by, as long as we don't go stealing in the other parts of the city. But whoever decided to put this together, they came into territory that most of us weren't prepared for. The guard isn't wrong. They are us. They don't represent us all. They wanted a big score, I think, and they've been very sour for a very long time, wanting to become part of a bigger syndicate, to spread the Vandalion quarter out to other streets. Everyone's afraid of saying anything. It's not that they're using brute force so much as they're raiding all the places they would usually turn a blind eye to find these thieves. These thieves feel and seem more dangerous even to our own people, but they also are our people. It's a rock and a hard place for us. If we weed them out, we might disappear at night or something, I don't know, or get beaten up. But if we don't say anything, we end up in prison in the other Escallion quarters for being accomplices. I don't know how much I can say, but I suppose this little bit wouldn't hurt. He produces from his pocket a coin, a Vandalion coin. This isn't for spending. This is for getting in. can't believe I'm saying this. There's a blind panhandler a few streets down. You give him this coin, and the entrance will open to the sewers that the guards don't know about. I'm telling you this in confidence. And he's looking at the Vandalian soldiers too. Without our small, petty thievery, it's very difficult to get by here. People gotta resort to other things that we'd rather not. So if you could keep this entrance a secret, it wouldn't just be helping me. It's a large silver coin, and it looks quite old. It is minted in the Vandalian Empire. It is of a specific mint, which was the year that the war ended. You want to roll for an insight check to see if this person's being completely honest. It is quite a wild story that the Escallions would forget about a whole network of tunnels. Or maybe in the hubris and arrogance of later years, the annals of history have been buried in pedigree to the point of forgetting about this very dense subsystem of sewer tunnels. 15. Damn. An 18. Sir Nigel Tomberry IV. This person seems like they're being very candid with you, but they are also incredibly afraid of the amount of information they've just given you. They're excited to tell you because they've found local Vandalians, but you guys are clearly from Crocombe, just not from this area, so you're kind of trustworthy because you're not really from around here too. See, he kind of sees you as impartial, but he also doesn't know if he can trust you. So he's putting a lot of confidence in you guys, and he's hoping it's enough to get him away. I know the Vandalians have come a long way. The border to their conquered lands is still far. Also, I know the Atoxel elves, looks at Steph, and the Hret Legion looks over at Sir Nigel, are way up in the north. You don't get around much unless you have some coin. This unlocks so much for you and puts me in a lot of danger. I know that being in an Escallion prison isn't ideal, but I'd rather just be out of here altogether. This mint is from that year alone. Those who know about this place are specifically given it. There's not many to go around. I'll sell it for 50 gold. Or I come with you, but you never make any mention of where we went. You tell them we went to the sewers, you don't tell them how. I'm Pero. You know you're Vandalian. Let's go. And he flips the coin and catches it. When he flips it, can we try to snatch it out of the air for safekeeping, you know? I don't know how he'd react to that. I don't think snatching something from him when he's asked you to buy it from him is necessarily going to inspire confidence in him either. You get to these back alleys and you notice there's an area that's showing a little bit of light, as if there is an alleyway leading to like the main road again. And you notice there's some very tough customers wearing purple scarves. Pero leads you away. We should probably take this from the main road. They're not going to like us coming from the side. Come on. Taking in what little sun is peeking through the grey clouds. A beggar in tattered clothes and wrapped eyes sits on the corner of a side road, and an alley is just past them. You notice there's a person before you guys with a grey cloak and a purple scarf that is already walking up to this one. He's trying to be casual about it, and he slips the coin into the bowl. You hear the cling, and the beggar picks it up and licks the coin and nods. And then you hear a metallic creak come from the dark of the alleyway. And you see the man in the grey cloak and purple scarf go in. You follow Pero up to the man. He does the same thing, grabs it, licks it, and nods. As it's licked, it gets flicked back up in the air, and he catches it in his hand and continues forward. You notice there's those two tough customers looking at both of you. They're wearing leather armor, and he shines the silver. He goes, "Don't worry, they're with me. They're not going to say anything." The two brutes look at each other. They look at the soldiers. "Where's the Emperor?" Savine and Undus look at each other and shake their head. "He's fighting further south from here. When the war ended, they tried to spread eastward, tried to push that way." Lucky you're here, not out there." They both move out of the way, and you can go down into the grate. Down and down and down. This metal ladder that is very uncomfortable to grab on, and it's slippery and wet, and you don't even want to know what it's wet with. Very promptly, as Pero say, listen, just hold hands. Follow me for a little bit. There's some torches up ahead. This area needs to be kept dark. And so they lead you forward. When you begin to see the glow, you feel a little bit of splashes on your boots, and the stench is unbearable. He grabs a sconce torch off of this new chamber. All right, should be a little bit easier from here. And leads downward down a ramp. Can the paladin use his divine sensibility? Yes. There doesn't seem to be anything inherently evil here. There is malintent in the air. Your divine senses would have told you that even, well, you would have known that even without divine sense, but it's just kind of enhanced that hunch of like, there are people that are here out of necessity, but there are also people here out of profit. It's been a while. It's been a few minutes of walking. You're beginning to hear voices, but not see this place inhabited by anyone. It's clear that everyone that is in the Vandalian Quarter is up and around, overground. Is there a way to tell whereabouts we are underground in terms of the city above with nav tools? You're still in the Vandalian Quarter. You went in and you continued moving north. So you're north from the center. In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups. The police, who investigate crime. The distinct attorneys, who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories. Dun dun! Law and Order, Vandalian Quarter. Boom 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 boom. Okay, I'm done. You only know what you've seen so far, and you haven't really been to this part of the Vandalian Quarter overground yet, so you're not quite sure what would be above. I keep track of steps with direction in mind. Okay. So we can maybe plot it out later on. Because this involves memorization and counting and kind of directional awareness, it's a little bit of a special retention sort of skill. I'm going to say, and I don't usually put these for these kinds of classes, but a general intelligence check. Counting your steps isn't necessarily that and requires a great deal of study and directional know-how. A general intelligence check to see if you can keep track. And this will be, you do it once, and that's what it is. 3, oh no. A 6. Okay, so that's a 10 dead on. Yo. There you go. You're both able to look at the small shafts of light just creeping in above and keep track in your head. You're actually gonna be able to at least get a very good idea of the direction you're going in and where the opening to this underground is going to go. You finally get to the tunnel within the tunnel. It seems like a lot of that masonry that seemed pulled right out of the roads, built and repurposed here to build this extra corridor, doesn't reflect and in any way the way the rest of the sewers have been created. And Para goes, we're here. Tread lightly and try not to make any sudden movements. We've been a lot more on edge as of late with the Escalian soldiers at our tails. And you're also new. And so he steps on up and leads you in. It's wide enough for maybe 3 people wide, I should say. You'd want to stay single file because some people are taking up that space in this very narrow corridor with little desks, little kiosks. Some people are even curved or built their own little side tunnel where they have like a small hovel where they have boxes and other things and like a locked vault with a little desk in front, and that everyone's quiet. Everyone's looking at each other. Not saying a word as you and these Vandalian soldiers and yourselves walk through. Sir Nigel is trying to be very considerate about the space and is like, has his head turned like this way so that his horns don't thwack into the people like on the either side of him and scrape on the ceiling. So he is one of the taller ones in the group. This place is basically a fencer's heaven. Anything you'd like to buy that is provisionary or small arms, weapons, but also clothing. It's also a regular market with really cheap prices. You wouldn't want to buy any of the food here, but people are cooking it. This is quite the underground community, quite literally. It's definitely a place that helps people get by. And it seems like a lot of familiar faces from above ground have come below ground here. There's plenty of people here. It's like you can buy anything, well, anything you need here. This is the sort of place we're trying to keep out of the reaches of the Escalian authorities. They try to turn a blind eye to petty theft that gets us these things. The problem is that it's being governed by those bigger fish that tried the big score the other day. Nods upward a little bit, because now you've come to like a intersection where there's a few other corridors, there's little shops on each corner and stuff, little like kiosks, and you notice a couple of guys on one of the corridors splashing through, a few bruisery big guys in leather armor, and they're not wearing purple scarves like the guys at the main entrance were, walking through, looking through things, strutting like they own the place, definitely. What gear do we already have? Just wondering if it's worth trying to get some nice shoes or something. So you're in like regular traveler's clothes. Sir Nigel Tomberry, he's wearing more of a costume type fancy clothing because he used to be part of the elk races that take place in the major cities in Crocum. So he used to ride elks in these very dangerous races. So it was kind of like the Palio in Italy, if you know what the Palio horse race is. He's wearing his livery, Narathi livery, on top of his armor. So he looks the fanciest, and then Steph Winterlight is wearing more utilitarian, fightery garb with some fur. One of them has a chain wrapped around the forearm, the big chunky forearm, and it's wrapped around their fist. And the other one just has like a club on his shoulder, a larger club on his shoulder, and it's got like metal bands attached to it, and he's just kind of waltzing around inspecting everything. He grabs a fruit from one of the kiosks and looks at it, and the person kind of like at first resists, but then looks up and sees, and like just kind of, immediately like looks back down again, and he just like continues his way and takes a big bite into the apple. You're looking through some of these, and everyone's selling a little bit of anything. Like there's just, it all depends on what they were able to steal and, cobble together and craft themselves. Find a nice iron bracelet that has some glass beading on it. And you also find someone who is selling slightly shinier things. It looks like they've been leaving the Vandalian Quarter a little bit, getting some precious metals here and there. And there is someone that has pieces that could be, that could make for good piercings, like a steel septum piercing. We're gonna die or be crowned a badass if we get pierced. Yeah, if anyone asks you, you'd be like, yeah, I got that pierced in a sewer. So edgy. How much for the bead bracelet? Person looks over at you, they watch they see the big guys walking by. Special deal for you. 1 gold. Finely crafted by a good friend of mine. I don't make anything here, my friend does. She's amazing with this stuff. He looks you up and down and goes, have you seen the rest of us? Yes, you do look like money. How about 5 silver rather than having someone steal it and making nothing off it? Persuasion with disadvantage. A 9. To augment that 9. Not so 16. There you go. The bartering was for 5 silver. 8 silver. The septum ring you haven't bought yet. Those are, they're part of the group that runs this whole operation. Just after the war, they were all we had between us and the Escalians. Couldn't open businesses outside of the area, not because we weren't free to, but we just couldn't afford it. It just made it very difficult to live anywhere else except the Vandalian Quarter. That group, they kept this place running, but in the last couple of years they've been getting a little bit more ambitious. They're up to the kind of no good that even some of us aren't really happy with. I mean, they've always kind of toted their power around, but they never brought in all the attention that we have now. That being said, things have been getting a little bit better down here because of it, in terms of profit and whatnot. The Scallions are really desperate to find out where everything is happening because of what happened recently, which is why I'm guessing you're here, isn't it? We don't get a lot of new people coming through. You don't really look like you come from around here. There's some cool tattoos, though. This little gritty guy is referring to the very special tattoos that are made of yellow amethyst powder dye that is used in the Atoxel elf tribal culture. When rubbed with oil, gives boosts to them in certain ways, depending on which tattoo you decide to rub with oil. Large bruisery fellows turn the corner behind. They pass the intersection and then turn to one of the other areas of the intersection, one of the other corridors. Also, you were buying stuff. The steel septum piece is being sold. This one's 1 gold, 5 silver. It's clear they're trying to take advantage of the people that are new here. Shop local, always, absolutely. Especially when you're made of money, and you can definitely support them, as these characters are made of money right now. Cool, do we have any oil on us? Yes, you do. All Crokemi elves have an oil kit filled with 5 filled vials of oil. And they have an oil craft ability that allows them to make the oil in downtime. Even though they're trying to stay quiet and like kind of hush-hush, everything gets a little bit more bustly when you guys walk past. Let's go follow them. Cool. They're not going to notice you very much because they've just been kind of going their own way. They feel pretty confident. It's not going to take too much to sneakily follow behind them. You follow them down another corridor. It seems to be a little bit less inhabited, and it's not residential per se. They turn another corner, but like as soon as they turned, it's pretty dark, and you're not using the sconce torch. It's dim enough that it's weird. It's messing with your dark vision. You're kind of shifting right now. Your eyes are not able to figure out whether it should be light or dark mode. So they shift into the other corridor and turn the corner. Do you follow them? You go around the corner and everything shrinks from 3 wide to 1. At least this doorway is narrow. It seems to open up after the doorway, but it is an actual proper door. A wooden door surrounded by masonry and a keystone archway. A very narrow corridor. It's about 2 wide on the inside of this. And it's very dark. There is 1 sconce torch there. You don't see the guys anymore. We're trying to be sneaky about following these bruises, right? Yeah, you're trying to be sneaky. They left the door open. What are you doing? Let's get oiled up. It's time for like an Arnold Schwarzenegger like montage. Time to pump up. Steph Winterlight. A Mark of the Mountain, this tattoo is often map-like depiction of a mountain range along a leg or around the waist. When applied with oil, it modifies the constitution checks and saving throws by +1. Mark of the Swift, this tattoo is often swirls of wind or a quick animal like a rabbit or deer. When applied with oil, it modifies the dexterity checks and saving throws by +1. Tell us all just to wait for a minute and then follow after us. Okay. It's gonna be interesting. This is not where I expected any of this to go. Steph rubs the oil on the swiftness tattoo and it glows a pale yellow. You know the nervous leg thing that people do in a chair? On the leg where that tattoo is. You tell the Vandalian Lancers, something suspicious, hold back. There's always the chance to turn away from something, but curiosity is too good sometimes, Nigel Tomberry turns his head a little bit so he'll fit through the door easily, holding his warhammer at the ready. Steph Winterlight slowly draws her newly acquired scimitar, and they slowly approach the already opened door for them. And that's where we're going to leave it for tonight on Community Chronicles. Yes.